Hello there, and welcome to the Mad Human Channel, your soft corner of the universe where science dreams and wonder quietly stirs beneath the stars. Tonight we are drifting, slowly, effortlessly, into the most peculiar truth about space. Not what's in it, but what's not. What does it mean to float in nothing? To fall endlessly, but never land? To be suspended, cradled not by touch, but by the invisible hands of gravity itself? These aren't just questions for astronauts or physicists, they are questions for dreamers. For you. For that part of you that has always looked up and whispered, what holds it all together? Tonight we'll explore that gently, from the first apple that made Newton wonder, to the floating silence of the International Space Station, to black holes so dense, light cannot flee. This is the quiet story of gravity, the invisible artist of the cosmos. You may not feel it pulling on your skin right now, but it never left you. Gravity has always been here. Not loud, never proud, but constant, steady. A loyal companion from cradle to coffin and beyond. So close your eyes if you wish. Breathe softly. Let go of the tension behind your eyes, in your jaw, in the soles of your feet. You don't have to do anything now. Just float. I'll carry the story for you tonight, because tonight we fall upward, into the silence, into space, into gravity's gentle paradox that what pulls us down is what holds us together. In the beginning, there was no ground to stand on, no sky above to define direction. Only energy, motion, and potential wrapped in a silent, glowing nothing. Space, before it even became space, was already being written by gravity. Not as a force that shouted, but as one that whispered things into existence. It didn't say, here is up, or there is down. It simply reached invisibly between particles, tugged gently, and encouraged matter to gather, to clump, to curl in on itself and become something more. Before stars were born, before planets could form, before even light was allowed to stretch its legs across the darkness, gravity was the silent architect, patiently sketching a stage for the great unfolding. And in that vast stillness, this invisible thread began pulling particles together, not in a rush, not with drama, but with the slowest kind of longing. And that longing made everything possible. You see, we often think of gravity as something that holds us down, the reason we fall, the reason we stumble, the force that keeps our feet from flying. But in truth, gravity doesn't push you into the ground. It wraps around you. It hugs. It invites. It holds. When a child trips and falls into a parent's arms, is it the ground that caught them, or the arms that reached before the impact? Gravity is that reach, that promise that nothing floats too far for too long. And when you step outside and feel nothing holding you from above, it's not because gravity is gone. It's because gravity works everywhere, quietly, gently, unceasingly. Now picture the Earth, alone in space, wrapped in blue and spinning with slow confidence. Around it, the moon circles like a patient sibling, caught in the dance not by chains but by invisible music. That music, the tension between mass and distance, is gravity. It doesn't scream through space. It hums. It vibrates through the very fabric of time. And while we live every moment grounded by it, we almost never pause to wonder what it really is. It has no color, no texture, no sound. You can't hold it. You can't bottle it. And yet, without it, everything, your body, your breath, the oceans, the stars, would fall apart. When astronauts float in orbit, it looks like gravity is gone. But that's the illusion. They're not weightless because gravity disappeared. They're weightless because they're falling, constantly, forward and around the Earth. Every object in orbit is in a freefall that never ends, a dance that just misses the ground over and over again. That's the poetry of space, to fall forever and never hit bottom. To be held in motion, not by contact, but by agreement. The moon, the satellites, the stations, even you, if you jumped hard enough and far enough, would fall the same way. It's not escape, it's surrender. And in that surrender, you find the truest kind of freedom. Far beyond our skies, gravity continues its silent weaving. It gathers gas and dust into swirling galaxies. It cradles stars in its arms until they burn out. It drags time itself through its knotted fingers. Around black holes it tightens, not in malice but in intensity. Their gravity is so dense light cannot escape. Not because light is weak, but because space itself bends inward like a sigh. Black holes aren't monsters. They're memories. Reminders of what happens when mass becomes memory so heavy it folds reality around it. And yet, even there, gravity isn't cruel. It simply holds. It simply continues. You were born in gravity's lap. You crawled under it, grew inside it, and now, even when you sleep, gravity sings to you. Your body knows how to balance, not because your mind told it to, but because gravity taught it how. Your blood knows which way to flow. Your bones learn to grow stronger because of the weight they carry. Even your dreams, when you float through them, only feel real because gravity gives you a sense of what's missing. We dream of flying because we live with gravity. We long for the stars because gravity holds us gently back. And in that tension, that longing, something beautiful is born. Somewhere in the vastness, a comet curves through space, not in a straight line but in an arc, responding to the gentle call of a planet it will never touch. This path isn't chaos. This choreography. Gravity doesn't force. It invites. And space, in all its cold vastness, responds with grace. Stars orbit centers they never reach. Galaxies spiral like dancers with invisible partners. And the universe expands, not randomly, but like a breath that knows where the lungs begin. We don't feel it, but it's happening. Right now, you are floating in this, in nothing, but also in everything. The chair beneath you is held by Earth. The Earth is held by the Sun. The Sun is held by the galaxy. And the galaxy, it too is held, not by one thing, but by a web of other galaxies, stretching like a cosmic lace across the silence. Gravity binds it all, not tightly, not with force, but with understanding, like an old friend who never left, even when you forgot they were there, like a memory that lingers in your bones long after the moment has passed. And yet, for all its silence, for all its unseen grace, gravity has shaped everything you know. Not just the stars and planets, but the very way you live and move and feel. It decides how rain falls, how trees grow upward while roots anchor downward. It teaches rivers to follow their path, and it helps fire to flicker toward the sky. It is both invitation and instruction. Your heart beats in rhythm partly because gravity gently pulls your blood downward, while your body quietly responds with every pulse, every breath, every motion that balances you upright. The lull of gravity is so constant, so persistent, that we often forget it's there, and that, in itself, is the miracle. To be held always, and to not even notice it. Imagine now a child in space, not floating randomly, but curled in the air like a seed caught on a breeze. Around them, stars burn with quiet intensity. There is no up, no down. Only in and out. Only near and far. The child is not scared because they are not falling alone. Every motion is connected. Every drift has meaning. The earth below them glows not just with light, but with memory. And gravity, though invisible, is there, wrapping its arms around everything, even them, even now. On distant planets where gravity pulls a little more, or a little less, life would shape itself differently. Trees might be thicker, spreading sideways instead of up. Wings might stretch longer to take flight. Feet might press harder or softer against alien soil. Gravity, like a storyteller, sets the tone, and life listens. Even on Earth, tiny differences in gravity, the weight of mountains, the softness of valleys, slightly nudge your weight, your blood flow, your breath, without you ever knowing. You think you're standing still, but in truth, you're always leaning toward the pull. And that's the strange poetry of gravity. It pulls us not just physically, but emotionally. We talk about being drawn to someone, about falling in love, about feeling the weight of sorrow or the lift of joy. These are metaphors, yes, but they are also echoes. Echoes of the force that shaped galaxies, that softened light, that pulled stars into spirals and gave the universe its rhythm. You don't just live under gravity. You live with it, in it, through it. You are the child it raised, the shape it sculpted, the soul it cradles. Out in the dark quiet between galaxies, where the stars thin and the silence thickens, gravity still moves. It is not bound by light. It reaches across what looks like emptiness and says, "You are not alone." It brings the cosmos together not by force, but by memory, by the quiet insistence that nothing exists in isolation. Even now, your body is responding to the moon, that pale, distant echo, as it gently tugs on the oceans, and yes, even your blood. Tides rise and fall in response. So do you. And maybe that's the most beautiful part of all. That gravity doesn't just shape the stars. It shapes your story. It shapes your sleep, your dreams, your weight, your lightness. It holds you down, yes, but it also lets you go. Because without it, you would never fall. And without falling, you'd never fly. And we do. We continue not because we must, but because movement is woven into us, just like it is into the stars. The very atoms in your body were once adrift in space, swirling in clouds of dust and fire, pulled together by gravity's steady hand. Before they were bones, blood, breath. They were scattered whispers in the darkness. It was gravity that gathered them, that whispered, "Come closer," until a form took shape, until a being emerged, until you, sitting quietly now in your room or curled beneath your covers, came into being. You are gravity's artwork, signed not with a brushstroke, but with an orbit, with a rhythm, with a pulse. Far above, satellites trace arcs around the planet in perfect obedience to gravity. They do not fall to Earth and they do not fly away. They fall around the Earth, forever chasing the curve of the planet, forever held in a delicate balance of motion and pull. This is orbit, an eternal falling that never ends. Like trust, like faith, like the way you fall into sleep, not all at once but gradually sinking, surrendering, safe. And in that same way, the International Space Station floats, not suspended by strings or powered by magic, but by this perfect compromise between momentum and gravity. It's not weightless. It's in freefall, just like the astronauts inside it. Just like dreams. The feeling of floating in space is not truly floating. It's falling, but without resistance. There is no air to slow you, no friction to catch your sleeve. Just you and the pull and the motion. And because everything around you is falling at the same speed, it feels still, weightless, like swimming through a dream where the water is invisible and the ceiling is made of stars. Astronauts describe this feeling not as fear, but as awe, as peace, as something ancient and sacred and inexplicable. They describe seeing Earth from above not as a scientific event, but as a spiritual one. The pale blue, spinning slowly, fragile and alive and wrapped in a blanket of air and light. And isn't that what gravity has always done? Not just hold things down, but hold things together. Without gravity, there would be no sun to warm your skin, no moon to light your night, no ocean to sing to your shore, no breath in your lungs, no bone beneath your skin. Without gravity, love might still exist, but it would have nowhere to land, no body to hold, no ground to kneel on, no hands to reach. Gravity gives place to presence, says you are here, and being here means something. Even black holes, those mysterious giants of gravity, are not monsters. They are memory. Gravity so strong that even light, that fastest of all messengers, cannot escape their embrace. They are not empty. They are full. Full of time, full of matter, full of the past. They remember everything that crossed their threshold, and they keep it, hidden beyond a horizon of no return. Not destroyed, just held, just quiet, just waiting. And though we cannot see into them, we feel their presence. We see how they shape the stars around them, how they curve space, how they teach us, again and again, that gravity is not just a force. It is a story told in spirals and silence. You've felt it, haven't you? That ache when someone leaves? That pull when someone enters the room? That tug in your chest when you remember something beautiful, something lost, something hoped for? Gravity isn't only physical. It lives in metaphor, in meaning, in memory, and when you sleep, it holds you still, cradled by Earth's quiet rotation, rocked by a planet that never stops spinning. Your pillow doesn't just rest on your bed. It presses softly against the sky. You, curled up and breathing, are part of a ballet so large you'll never fully see it, but you can feel it, in the quiet, in the stillness, in the fall. And still we drift, through time, through night, through thought. The galaxies themselves are not fixed, but moving, gliding silently apart like dancers who once touched hands and now trace solo paths through a shared music. Our Milky Way is on a collision course with Andromeda, but do not fear. The dance is slow. It will take billions of years, and when it happens, it won't be violent. It will be graceful. Stars will pass through stars. Space will hold space. Gravity, once more, will choreograph the steps. Your body understands this. Your breath flows in and out not because you tell it to, but because gravity and biology have reached an agreement. Your blood circulates in spirals. Your cells divide with rhythm. Your muscles carry the weight they were born into, and your bones quietly adapt to the pull beneath your feet. When astronauts return from space, they feel the weight of Earth again, and sometimes it is overwhelming. Not just physically, but emotionally. To be held again, to be grounded, to belong to something. And here you are, being held. Maybe you're listening to this as you fall asleep, or maybe you're just watching the shadows move across your ceiling. Maybe you're wondering about your place in all this, and that's okay. Gravity doesn't need you to understand it. It only needs you to feel, to be still long enough to notice how it never leaves, how it waits, how it reminds you that presence is enough. And so we do, quietly, gently, without urgency or destination, drifting deeper into the unseen fabric that tethers everything, gravity not as a force, but as a lullaby sung by the universe itself. Even in the deepest silence, there is gravity. It cradles galaxies and cups the corners of your sleep. It arcs around your ankles as you walk, not to slow you down, but to remind you that you belong to the earth, that you are not lost, that you are held. There's a kind of grace in that, the grace of knowing that no matter how far your thoughts wander, your body is still known by this planet, recognized, remembered. The moon, our soft companion, knows this grace intimately. It circles us because of gravity but stays at a distance, not too close, not too far, a perfect tension. This quiet pull gives us tides. It gives us poetry. It gives us a sense of time. Without the moon's subtle tug, the oceans would lose their rhythm. Our nights would lose their glow. And you might lose that feeling you get when you see the moon rising just above the trees and feel, for a moment, like someone is watching over you. Gravity doesn't only hold, it shapes. It molds planets, rounds stars, forms rings around Saturn not for beauty, but because matter wants to find balance. It wants to settle. It wants to spin in harmony. Saturn's rings are made of ice and dust, but also of memory. They are remnants of things once whole, now scattered, now radiant. They are a testament to how even broken things can find grace in orbit, how pieces can still dance. And what of Earth's own story? Formed from the debris of ancient stars, pulled together by gravity, spun into a world capable of rivers and roots and rain. Gravity pulled water to the low places, carved valleys, settled soil. Without it, there would be no trees reaching down with roots and up with limbs. There would be no oceans to reflect the sky, no sky to hold the clouds, no clouds to carry the storms. Gravity made Earth not just livable, but lyrical. And you, dear listener, are part of that lyric. Your every step is a dialogue with gravity. You press into the ground and it answers. You leap and it catches you. Even your tears fall not out of sorrow alone, but because gravity pulls them gently from your lashes. Your laughter hangs in the air for a moment longer because sound waves, too, lean on gravity. And when you lie down at the end of the day, you are not collapsing, you are surrendering. You are letting go, trusting that gravity will hold what you release. It always does. You see, floating in space may look like freedom, but it's also disorientation. Up and down disappear. Movement becomes guesswork. In microgravity, the body forgets where it is. The heart shifts, the fluids rise, the bones lighten, even the dreams change. And yet, even there, in that vast, unanchored silence, gravity is still present. Distant, yes, subtle, but always calling, always pulling homeward. Because gravity is not just about mass and distance. It's about connection, about belonging. Two objects in space will always feel each other, always draw toward one another no matter how faint the tug. It is the most patient love story in the universe, one where even silence is a form of reaching. And as you float further into this slow, starlit stream of thought, you might notice something else, that gravity is never in a hurry. It doesn't demand. It doesn't rush. It simply waits. Waits for stars to collapse into black holes over billions of years. Waits for galaxies to drift into one another like two dancers who've known each other forever. Waits for your breath to slow, for your shoulders to soften, for your mind to find stillness. Gravity teaches patience, teaches presence, because nothing that matters ever needs to shout. Think of the Voyager probes, tiny emissaries of our tiny world, launched decades ago and now drifting far beyond the influence of the planets. Even there, gravity whispers. A faint echo of the sun's pull still nudges their path. A subtle reminder that even the smallest things remain connected. That even the quietest travelers carry the story of their origin with them. And so do you. Every step you've ever taken, every fall and rise, every still moment and soaring leap, it's all held in the memory of gravity. It knows you. It knows the exact weight of your body, the tempo of your walk, the tilt of your spine as you look up at the sky. It knows when you're grounded, and when you dream of flight, and sometimes, in the most extraordinary moments, gravity seems to disappear. Think of astronauts floating in the International Space Station, gliding from wall to wall like dancers in slow motion, their bodies adapting, relearning balance, moving not with effort but with grace. But even then, especially then, it's not that gravity is gone. It's just that they're falling in perfect unison with the station itself. It's a shared fall, a cosmic trust fall. And it works because of precision, because of harmony, because gravity, even when unseen, is always at the center of the choreography. Back on Earth, gravity continues its gentle work, pulling apples from branches, guiding rivers to oceans, shaping the arcs of birds in flight, and shaping you. Every time you reach for something, you're working with gravity. Every time you sit, stand, lie down, you're negotiating with it. Sometimes it feels heavy. And sometimes it feels like the softest hand, guiding you back to ground, back to rest, back to yourself. Let's linger here in that thought, because there is a kind of magic in remembering that the force that holds planets in orbit is the same force that lets you feel the ground beneath your feet. The same force that holds you together when everything else feels like it's spinning apart. Gravity doesn't stop the spinning. It simply gives it a center. So if life ever feels too fast, too loud, too chaotic, remember gravity. Not as weight, but as stillness, as anchor, as invitation to slow down and listen, to the breath, to the heartbeat, to the quiet music of being. You are not drifting. You are orbiting. You are not falling. You are held. Let's keep drifting, then, not away from ourselves, but deeper in. And as we drift deeper, let yourself imagine the invisible thread beneath everything you've ever touched, ever known. That thread is gravity. Not in the dramatic, crushing way of science fiction, but in the tender, faithful way that the earth holds your feet even when your thoughts are far away. Gravity doesn't need to be seen to be felt. It is in the way your spine settles into your mattress, in the pull of your eyelids after a long day, in the sigh that escapes your lips when you finally let go. Now, picture Earth from space, turning slowly, bathed in blue and white, surrounded by the velvet dark. It floats, yes, but not aimlessly. It dances a perfect rhythm around the sun, held in place by gravity's steady hand. We often think of gravity as something that pulls us down, but in truth, it holds us in orbit, keeps us circling light, keeps us in motion, yes, but also in relationship. We don't fall into the sun. We move with it, around it, because that's what gravity does. It doesn't trap, connects, and within that connection, there's a lesson. In a world that sometimes feels fractured and fast and overwhelming, gravity is a reminder of relationship, of belonging. You are not separate. You are not an island. You are tethered, lovingly, to something vast, to the earth, to the moon, to the stars, and to every other body that shares this dance. Even now, as you listen, your body is responding, your heartbeat sinking to the rhythm of this moment, your breath settling, your mind softening into the knowing that you are not alone in space. Everything with mass has gravity, and that means you have gravity. Yes, you carry a pull, presence. Even if you don't feel it, others do. Your kindness draws people in. Your voice changes the energy in a room. Your touch, your glance, your stillness, they all have weight. And that weight matters. You don't have to do anything dramatic to matter. You don't have to prove your value in noise or speed. Gravity is quiet. So are you sometimes. And that quiet, it still pulls the world closer. It still shapes the orbit of those around you. So as we float in this thought, consider this: maybe gravity isn't just a law of physics. Maybe it's also a metaphor for love, for connection, for presence. It asks for nothing, demands nothing. It simply is. And in that being, it changes everything. Even black holes, those mysterious regions of space where gravity is so strong that nothing, not even light, can escape, teach us something. Not about destruction, as many believe, but about boundaries. About gravity pushed to its limit. About how even silence and darkness have their place. Even the parts of the universe that seem scary are, at their core, expressions of gravity. They are part of the story, and so are you, a part of this cosmic dance. A soft orbit around moments, around people, around dreams. And when it all feels too big to hold, just breathe. Gravity will hold it with you. Will take the weight you cannot carry. Will whisper, rest now. I've got you. And as we keep drifting, allow yourself to dissolve a little into the stillness, into the deep blue of thought, into the very space between heartbeats. Gravity will catch you. It always does. You see, even when you feel suspended between decisions, between moments, between who you were and who you are becoming, there is an anchor pulling you gently back to center. And perhaps that's the quiet miracle of it all. That the universe, in all its cold vastness, has never let you go. Imagine for a moment the moon above you, quiet, silver, impossibly far, and yet still tethered to Earth, caught in a waltz of distance and desire. Gravity keeps it close, not tightly, not possessively, but faithfully, and in that gentle orbit, the tides rise and fall. Seas breathe. Life is cradled. Gravity doesn't need to be loud to be powerful. And neither do you. There's something profoundly comforting in that. The knowing that gravity allows motion and rest in equal measure. That the same force keeping stars from flying apart is the same one that allows you to lie still, eyes closed, without fear of floating away. It is the presence that holds us when everything else falls silent. When the world outside grows too much, and the only sound left is the quiet hum of your own being, gravity remains. Steady, patient, real. And maybe you've felt it not just in the literal sense, but in life. In the pull back to someone's arms after a long time apart. In the magnetism of a dream you can't quite shake. In the weight of memory that returns when you least expect it. These two are gravity. Human gravity. The forces that draw souls together. That keep stories connected across time. That remind us who we are. Because space isn't just distance. It's a canvas. And gravity, it's the brushstroke. It's what turns chaos into form, silence into shape. Without it, there'd be no stars, no planets, no you. Without it, the universe would still be expanding. But it wouldn't be becoming. There would be no galaxies, no music, no falling in love, no falling asleep. And so we return again and again to this truth, that falling is not always failure. That drifting is not always losing your way. That sometimes the act of floating is a kind of trust, a kind of surrender to the pull of something deeper, something older, something constant. So if you are tired tonight of holding everything together, of pushing, of proving, let go a little. Gravity is already holding you. Let your muscles release. Let your mind soften. You do not need to keep climbing. Sometimes the most radical thing you can do is rest. To allow yourself to be carried, like a planet in its orbit, like a leaf on the surface of a still pond. And in that rest, feel the quiet rhythm of connection. To the stars, to the earth, to everyone who has ever looked up and wondered why they feel both so small and so deeply miraculously placed. You are not floating in nothing. You are floating in everything. And you are exactly where you need to be. Let's keep going. Gently now. There's still more to feel. And so we float, not aimlessly but with meaning, pulled by an invisible thread that has always been there, even before you knew what gravity was. It was there the first time you fell asleep in someone's arms, or when the world spun beneath your feet during a dizzy moment of laughter. It was there when you fell in love, when you fell apart, when you fell silent under a sky full of stars. Gravity doesn't just bind planets, it binds moments, memories, selves. It's strange to think, isn't it, that the same force anchoring galaxies is also the one that draws a tear downward from your eye, that pulls a note from a piano string, that keeps a candle's flame upright even in stillness. It is a constant that lives in the background, asking for no recognition, offering stability without applause. And that is something sacred, something humbling, something worth whispering to yourself when everything else feels too loud. I am held, even now, and while space is vast and mostly silent, it's never truly empty. Even in the great void between stars, gravity threads connections, invisible lines, quiet promises. Without those gentle pulls, stars would never cluster, galaxies would never form, and your feet would never know the feel of Earth. It is gravity that makes the sky something we fall toward with our eyes and dreams. Not just up, but inward. We are drawn to it, and it somehow responds. Imagine now the International Space Station, floating hundreds of kilometers above your head, circling Earth every 90 minutes. Inside, astronauts sleep tethered to walls, their dreams suspended midair, their bodies slowly adjusting to a world without down. And yet, even there, they are not free of gravity. They are falling, continuously, just fast enough to keep missing the Earth. That's what orbit is, a perpetual fall that never lands. A surrender that results in motion. And maybe, in some way, we are all doing that, falling but gracefully held in our own orbits, learning to trust the spaces between certainty and surrender. You don't need to hold everything together. You were never meant to. Just as the moon doesn't grip the Earth, and the Earth doesn't cling to the sun, you can let go and still belong. You can float and still be part of the story. There is a rhythm to all of this. A deep, quiet tempo beneath the motion. You don't always need to move to be moving. Sometimes stillness is its own kind of journey. And if the stars could speak, they would say, we too were once scattered, dust in darkness, chaos without form, until gravity gave us shape, gave us home, gave us each other. That's the invitation, to allow yourself to be drawn in, to trust the pull, even when you don't see what's pulling, to believe that something unseen can still be deeply real. So let your breath rise and fall like the tide, guided by a moon you cannot touch but still believe in. Let your mind drift like a satellite, suspended by thought, unburdened by gravity's harshness and held only by its grace. And as the world quiets around you, and the weight of the day begins to loosen its grip, remember that you are not falling behind. You are simply in orbit. And orbiting, dear listener, is just another form of returning. Let us keep drifting through the story, weightless and wide-eyed. Gravity will hold the rest. Let the stillness wash over you like a wave curling through the edges of space, where gravity isn't loud but persistent, a soft hum beneath every atom of your being. The more you listen, the more you'll feel it. Not in the way things fall, but in the way they stay. Planets stay close to stars. Moons stay near to their planets. You stay near to your center, even when the world feels like it's spinning too fast. Gravity, in its quiet patience, reminds you that you do not need to force belonging. It's already woven into your existence. Somewhere, far beyond our skies, two galaxies are dancing. Not colliding, not crashing, dancing. The Andromeda Galaxy and our own Milky Way are being pulled toward each other by gravity's slow and steady hand. A meeting scheduled for billions of years from now. In cosmic time, they are already embracing. Slowly, inevitably, beautifully. That's what gravity does. It brings things together, sometimes across impossible distances, sometimes across the quiet gap between two people who simply feel seen. It's easy to forget, in the busyness of days, that you are part of a universe constantly weaving itself closer. Every hug, every conversation, every moment of sitting silently beside someone you love, those are little gravitational events. They hold you, they shape you, they remind you that presence is powerful, and proximity is a kind of love. And it's not just celestial bodies and hearts that follow gravity. It's time itself. Einstein taught us that gravity curves spacetime, that the presence of mass bends the path of time like a soft weight on a trampoline. That means gravity doesn't just pull, it shapes. It alters what time feels like, how light travels, how clocks tick. On the top of a mountain, time passes ever so slightly faster than it does at sea level. Just imagine that every step upward is a tiny rebellion against gravity's grip on time. Every breath at the summit, a brief moment ahead of the world below. Even your dreams are not free from it. You may fly, float, tumble and sleep, but the waking body always returns to Earth. Because gravity is not just a law, it's a lullaby. A soft repetition that calls you back to center, back to safety, back to self. The way your blanket tugs gently on your shoulder. The way your body sinks into the mattress. The way you're not thinking about keeping yourself grounded, because you already are. There's no need to hold the universe together. That's gravity's job. Yours is simply to notice, to be present, to breathe, to allow yourself to feel the truth that even in the stillness, everything is moving, everything is reaching, everything is being held by something else. So if you're floating through something right now, through change, uncertainty, a new beginning, don't fear the drift. You're not lost. You're in motion. You're being guided by something older than worry, older than doubt. And even when you don't know where you're going, gravity knows. The universe knows. You are part of a dance far bigger than your fears. Now breathe in, gently, deeply. Let your breath be the anchor. Let the pull of your heartbeat echo that steady force. Not rushed, not chaotic, just there, reliable, grounding. And as we drift further into this quiet understanding, imagine the Earth, our small blue home, suspended in the vast black sea of space. It's not sitting still. It's not anchored. It's falling, continuously, gracefully, around the sun. And the sun? It too is falling, spiraling through the Milky Way, tugged along by forces too massive and slow for the human eye to see. And the galaxy itself is not at rest either. It glides through the cosmic web, pulled gently by the gravity of clusters and superclusters, like a leaf on a great invisible tide. Nothing is fixed. Nothing is stuck. Everything is moving. And yet, within all this motion, there is calm. Because motion itself is not chaos, motion is the rhythm of the universe. It's the heartbeat of the cosmos. The constant breathing in and out of creation and collapse. It's what you feel in your chest when your heart slows as you lie down to sleep. What you hear when the house goes quiet and your thoughts soften. Gravity hums, even then, whispering not with words but with weight. Not the heavy kind, but the kind that says, you're still here, still held. Picture now the Voyager probes. Tiny crafts launched in the late 1970s, still sailing outward through space. Past the planets, past the pull of our sun, into the interstellar dark. They carry with them golden records. Messages for whoever or whatever might find them one day. Sounds of laughter, waves, heartbeats. Proof that we were here, that we reached, that we believed in connection. And what keeps those tiny ships moving forward, across decades and light years, is gravity. A push from Earth, a slingshot past Jupiter, a pull from the stars. They are forever falling toward something, even if no one knows what that is. Just like you. Because even when you feel directionless, even when you feel like you're floating in uncertainty, you are not adrift. You are not lost. You are part of something larger, something slow and sacred and spiraling. Your life is not a straight line. it's an orbit. You return to yourself over and over, in ways both familiar and new. And with each return, you're changed. A little wiser, a little softer, a little more attuned to the music of movement. And in that movement, there is meaning. Gravity doesn't shout its purpose. It doesn't demand attention. It simply is. Always. Everywhere. Quietly holding galaxies together. Quietly holding you together. So tonight, as you rest, let yourself feel that pull. Let it cradle you like the Earth cradles the moon. Like the stars cradle the planets. Like the universe cradles every breath you've ever taken. You are part of this ancient, gentle web. Interconnected. Intertwined. Important not because of what you do, but because you are. And tomorrow, when you wake, gravity will still be there. Pulling the tides. Rooting your feet. Guiding the stars. You don't have to do it all. You just have to be. Gravity will take care of the rest. Let us keep drifting. Imagine now the silence between stars. Not the silence of emptiness, but a silence filled with subtle gravity. A hush that stretches for light years, yet hums with purpose. In these vast expanses between galaxies, particles still respond to gravity's call. Even in the loneliest corners of the universe, gravity whispers, pulling one speck toward another, weaving invisible bridges of belonging. And that's the quiet miracle we often forget. That even when things seem scattered, even when everything appears to be floating alone, gravity is working, pulling, connecting, slowly drawing everything towards something else. Not always quickly, not always visibly, but always. And maybe that's how healing works too. Not as a sudden arrival, but as a patient drift back to center. Maybe love works that way. Maybe forgiveness. Maybe growth. Small orbits of return, drawn by forces we cannot always explain. Now think of yourself as a planet, complex, layered, spinning with memory and light. Around you, there are moons, moments, relationships, dreams that orbit close. Some drift away, some return, but none are lost. They are simply responding to their own rhythms, their own gravity. And within you is a core, hot, bright, and ancient, that keeps everything in balance. A center that holds no matter how many rotations the day brings. That center is your stillness, your knowing, your truth. And maybe gravity isn't just a law of physics. Maybe it's a metaphor for all the things that quietly hold us together when we feel like falling apart. The text from a friend at just the right moment. The way your favorite song seems to know your heart. The familiar scent of rain. The hush of midnight. These are the gravitational pulls of the soul. They root us. They remind us we're not drifting endlessly. We're orbiting meaning. Even your body is an echo of cosmic gravity. Your blood flows downward, drawn by Earth's gentle insistence. Your feet rest on the floor not because you try, but because the planet welcomes you. Every step you take is a quiet agreement with gravity. Yes, I'm still here. And gravity responds, good, I'm here too. There is no need to chase the stars tonight. They are already above you, around you, in you. You are made of their dust and drawn by the same pull that sculpted the galaxies. The very same force that spun rings around Saturn and carved riverbeds through Mars is guiding you, even now, toward your own rhythm, your own calm, your own place in this vast, unfolding dance. So breathe. And as you do, let the gravity of this moment anchor you. Not to obligation, not to worry, but to wonder, to stillness, to a kind of rest that trusts the unseen forces working gently in your favor. Because even when it feels like you're doing nothing, gravity is still doing something. Holding you, moving you, loving you in its quiet, constant way. Let us float a little further, into that gentle in-between space where breath slows and the body begins to trust the dark. Not the darkness of fear or uncertainty, but the sacred dark. The kind where stars are born. The kind that cradles seeds before they sprout. The kind that holds you softly, asking nothing, expecting nothing, just offering space. Because space is not empty. It's alive. It listens. It remembers. It remembers the swirl of stardust that became your bones. The moment Earth's gravity first wrapped itself around your newborn skin. The million times your heartbeat danced with the pull of the moon, even if you never noticed. And it holds all of that gently, like a lullaby stretched across light years, still playing in the background of everything you do. We often imagine space as silence. But in truth, space is full of sound. Just not the kind you hear with ears. It's the slow creak of galaxies turning, the hum of atoms vibrating, the echo of light stretched thin by time. And deep within that vastness, Earth makes its own music. A subtle song carried by magnetism and motion, like a whisper from home sent out into the void. Voyager captured some of those sounds, auroras crackling, the ocean's low thrum, and sent them sailing across the stars, as if to say, "This is us, this is our rhythm, and you are part of that rhythm. You are the same quiet miracle as gravity itself. You don't demand attention, you don't need to prove your worth. You simply are, and that is enough. Your presence bends the world around it, subtly but surely. You may not feel it, but you're shaping the space you occupy. Just like a planet curves the fabric of space around it, just by existing. Sometimes, when life feels overwhelming, we wish we could float away. But what if that's not escape? What if that's remembering? Remembering that we are floating, that we're already weightless in the ways that matter most, that we don't have to push all the time to be in motion. Sometimes we just need to let go, to trust the gravity of rest, of quiet, of surrender. So as your breath steadies and your muscles soften, picture yourself in orbit, not lost, but held, not aimless, but drawn, around something invisible and vast and kind. Maybe it's love, maybe it's purpose, maybe it's just the simple grace of being alive. There is nowhere else to be right now. No mission, no performance, just this quiet moment in a universe that will continue spinning with or without your effort. And yet, how beautiful it is that you're here to witness it, that you can close your eyes and feel the vastness, that your tiny body, curled under blankets, can sense the pull of the same force that moves galaxies. And when you wake, whenever that is, you'll wake in that same universe, still spinning, still singing, still waiting to show you more. Let us drift even deeper, as if sleep itself were a soft tide, pulling us gently into a sea made of stars, of memory, of wonder. Out here, time loses its edges. Seconds blur into centuries. You are no longer bound by clocks or calendars. You are simply presence, pure, quiet, floating presence. And within that presence, there's something even more miraculous. A sensation you may not notice during the rush of day, your own gravity. Yes, you have it too. Just like planets pull on moons and stars tug at comets, you pull at people, at moments, at meaning. Your smile shifts the atmosphere. Your kindness realigns trajectories. Your attention is an orbit all its own. We rarely think of ourselves that way. We imagine gravity as belonging only to the massive, the distant, the celestial. But in truth, every part of you, every atom, responds to and creates gravity. The iron in your blood once belonged to a star that exploded billions of years ago. That stardust remembers the pull of gravity so intensely, it still hums with it, inside your veins. And so, you're never really apart from space. You are space, a localized swirl of universe, condensed just enough to form thoughts, dreams, the ability to whisper, "I'm here." You're not a passenger on this cosmic ride. You are part of the machinery, part of the equation, an expression of the same forces that guide the galaxies. Not just shaped by gravity, but shaping it too. Let that thought comfort you tonight. Let it sink beneath your skin, where it can cradle your bones in warmth. Let it slow your pulse, ease your thoughts, quiet your nerves. Let it replace anxiety with awe. Not every question needs an answer. Not every mystery is meant to be solved. Some are meant to be held gently, like a glowing marble of light you carry in your chest as you drift toward rest. Above you, stars. Beneath you, planet. Within you, galaxy. You are held from every direction. There is no up, no down, no right, no wrong. Only movement, only being, only the soft tug of gravity leading you inward, downward, deeper into sleep. Even your dreams obey gravity. They fall through your mind like meteor showers, trailing fire and light and impossible colors. They burn briefly and vanish, but their residue remains. In the morning, you may not remember their shape, but you'll feel them like a weightless echo, like the pull of something you once loved and can't quite name. So let yourself fall now, not into darkness, but into light that doesn't need to be seen. Let your breath be the softest orbit. Let your thoughts untether like satellites released to drift freely, no longer bound by urgency. The earth spins without your permission. The moon rises without your planning. The tides flow without your control. Everything continues. Everything breathes. You are allowed to rest. And maybe, just maybe, gravity isn't what pulls us down, but what keeps us close. To the ground. To each other. To the stories written in starlight and told in whispers. Maybe it's not a chain, but a hug from the universe saying, "Don't float too far. We're not done with you yet." Let yourself slip further now, past the noise of the day and into the hush of space between thoughts. Let the gentle current of gravity carry you, not as a force of weight, but as a lullaby written into the language of the cosmos itself. Because when you truly begin to listen, beneath the pulse, beneath the breath, you'll hear it. The heartbeat of gravity. The soft, low rhythm that has been guiding everything since before there was an earth to walk on or a sky to dream beneath. It was there when stars first gathered from the chaos. It was there when dust met dust and dared to become a world. It was there when oceans filled and when trees rose like green flames into the air. And it is here now, humming quietly in your ribs, swaying gently in your chest, keeping time not just for your body, but for everything. It is the drumbeat of existence, and you are moving in step with it, even when you are still. And what a gift that is, to know that rest is not the absence of movement, but a kind of sacred motion all its own. A return to gravity. A return to the tender gravity of dreams. The way they cradle you like warm wind in a place that cannot be mapped. You don't need to understand how it works to feel it. You don't need to explain it to be carried by it. There's a reason the ancients looked up at the sky and saw gods. Not because the sky demanded worship, but because it offered silence. It offered vastness. It reminded them that they were small, but not insignificant. Just small in the way that fireflies are small, or seeds or stars before they explode. You are small, and you are shining. Tonight, as you float in that space between here and elsewhere, feel the gravity of memory. Not just yours, but the memory of the planet, the stars, the universe. Gravity remembers. It remembers every touch, every orbit, every collision that sparked a new beginning. And it remembers you, the moment you were born, the weight of your first breath, the quiet miracle of your continued presence. Let that be your lullaby tonight. Let the pull of gravity not be something you fight, but something you surrender to, like a leaf riding the air, like a comet on its curved, quiet path home. You don't need to be anywhere else. You don't need to do anything more. Right now, you are the answer to 1,000,000 years of movement and stillness and stardust. So close your eyes, dear traveler. Let your body be heavy in the most beautiful way. Let your spirit be light in the way that galaxies drift. Let your thoughts loosen their grip and fall gently into the gravity well of sleep. You are not lost. You are simply orbiting peace. And tomorrow will come, just as the planets will rise again. Just as gravity will still be there, humming its ancient, invisible tune, holding you, grounding you, guiding you, always. And as we float, let's drift through one more layer of gravity's story, the way it binds not just matter to matter, but meaning to memory. Out here, between atoms and stars, between thoughts and sleep, gravity becomes something more than physics. It becomes poetry. It becomes a thread that ties your childhood to the moon, your heartbeat to the tides, your tears to the arc of a planet's spin. It becomes the reason you return again and again to the same places, the same people, the same questions. Because gravity is not just what holds you down, it's what calls you home. Imagine, for a moment, a world without it. A world where nothing clings, where oceans drift into the sky, where feet no longer press into soil, where your breath floats away before you can exhale. In such a world, you would lose more than weight. You'd lose your sense of place, your sense of belonging, because to belong is to be held, not trapped, not tethered, just embraced by something larger, something steady. That's what gravity is. Quiet embrace. A reminder that even in your stillest moments, something unseen is keeping you close. It's why your body, in the deepest stages of sleep, never fully forgets the earth beneath it. Your muscles release, your thoughts dissolve, but your cells remember. They remember the feel of ground, of gravity, of home. And the earth? It remembers you too. Every step you've taken, every time you've laid down and let yourself be softened by stillness, every moment you've let gravity carry you back to calm. This planet hums with those memories. It welcomes you back each night like a mother drawing the covers over a dreaming child. And you, in return, breathe life into its surface. A sacred exchange, silent but powerful, effortless but eternal. So here, in this quiet pause between stars and sunrise, let gravity hold you like that. Let it carry the weight you've been holding all day. The decisions, the doubts, the thoughts that spin faster than any satellite. Let them go. Let them be absorbed into the arms of something ancient and wise. Something that has held everything from mountains to moonlight and still has space left just for you. Because rest is not giving up. It's coming back. Back to center. Back to breath. Back to the pull that says, you matter even when you're doing nothing at all. So breathe. Let your exhale fall like a meteor tracing its gentle arc. Let your mind quiet like a distant galaxy, slowly turning in silence. Let yourself drift. No destination, no direction, just the peaceful gravity of this moment. This breath, this stillness. You are safe. You are held. You are exactly where you need to be. And if the stars could speak, if the blackness between galaxies could whisper just one thing, it would be this: stay. Just stay. Float a little longer. Rest a little deeper. There is no rush. There is only rhythm. And you, dear traveler, are already in perfect orbit. And as your breath continues to slow, sinking gently with the rhythm of this moment, feel the vastness around you. Not as something distant or unreachable, but as something intimately woven into your very being. You are not floating apart from the universe. You are floating within it. You are stardust, yes, but also stilled breath, quiet thoughts, and gravity's soft companion. You are part of this cosmic lullaby, humming softly across time and space. Far beyond your room, in the darkness of deep space, galaxies drift like glowing lanterns across a velvet sea, each one a swirl of hundreds of billions of stars. Each star a potential sun, each sun a cradle for unseen worlds. And among all of that, here you are, not by accident, not by chance, but by the careful choreography of gravity's invisible hand. The atoms in your bones were forged in ancient stars, the calcium in your teeth, the iron in your blood, the carbon in your thoughts, all born in the heart of suns that lived and died before Earth ever cooled. And gravity carried those star-born ashes through the emptiness, wove them into clouds, whispered them into planets, and eventually into you. You are, quite literally, the story gravity has been writing since the beginning of time. And now gravity offers you rest. Not because it demands silence, but because it understands the language of fatigue. The kind of tired that comes not just from motion, but from meaning, from feeling deeply, from carrying a world of thoughts within your own mind, day after day. Gravity doesn't ask you to be strong. It only asks you to release, to soften, to allow yourself to be held. So let it hold you. Let the curve of your spine meet the bed like a river returning to its basin. Let the back of your head rest heavy, as if it remembers how the earth has always cradled it. Let your shoulders drop, as if the stars themselves are gently untying the knots in your body. Let your hands be still. Let your breath float like dust in a sunbeam, weightless, golden, without purpose or pressure. This is what it means to surrender, not to lose, but to trust. To believe that even in stillness you are becoming. That even in rest you are aligned with something sacred. something real, something that has always been guiding you, softly, steadily, without ever needing your attention. Out there, comets still fly, moons still spin, galaxies still bloom like roses in slow motion. But in here, in this quiet space where only your breath and gravity remain, you are enough. Just like this, just as you are. No more trying, no more reaching, just being. Just belonging. Because you do. You belong. Not because of what you've done. Not because of what you'll do tomorrow. But simply because you are. You exist, and that is already a miracle of motion and matter. A consequence of every supernova, every collision, every whisper of gravity across time. So sleep now, not as an escape, but as a return. A return to your truest form. To the version of you that doesn't need to speak to be worthy. To the version of you that shines without effort, simply because you are a spark in the dark. And gravity will keep singing. It will hold your atoms in place. It will guard the shape of your dreams. It will wait patiently for your waking, knowing that you will rise again, not in defiance, but in rhythm, in harmony, in quiet grace. So drift, dear traveler. Drift into the deepest sleep the stars have ever known. And somewhere, as your body settles further into stillness, a star is being born, quietly, invisibly. Deep inside a dense pocket of cosmic dust and gas, gravity is at work again, slowly pulling, gently squeezing, folding the chaos into light. It does not rush. It does not need permission. It simply continues the way oceans continue to rise and fall, the way breath continues even when you're not paying attention. That's how gravity moves. Like a lullaby you forgot you knew, like an old memory returning just before you fall asleep. Back here, within your own galaxy, this small spiral of fire and frost we call the Milky Way, our sun drifts through the galactic arms with us in tow. We are passengers on a vessel too vast to see. Around us, stars burn out and are born again. Black holes hum in silence. Nebulae shimmer like the thoughts of gods. And in the middle of all this grandeur, a quiet truth remains. You are being held. Not metaphorically, literally. Right now, gravity wraps itself around you with the same intimacy it wraps around the moon, keeping it tethered to Earth. The same invisible threads that choreograph planets around stars, galaxies around cores, are the same that press your body gently into your bed. Even when you feel alone. Even when the weight of the world seems unbearable. Even then, especially then, gravity does not let go. It's there in every footstep, in every falling leaf, in every sigh that escapes you in the dark. Somewhere, floating above the Earth, astronauts aboard the International Space Station drift in the same force you feel now, only differently. Up there, falling never stops. They're in freefall, endlessly circling the Earth like a dream you can't quite wake from. To them, gravity is not felt as weight. It is felt as motion, as orbit, as the quiet knowledge that something is always pulling them back home, even if they never touch the ground. And perhaps that's what gravity teaches us most. That being grounded isn't always about standing still. Sometimes, it's about knowing there's something keeping you tethered even when you drift. Something ancient, something unwavering, something soft. So allow yourself to float, not away, but within. Drift inward now into the delicate architecture of your own being. Beneath skin, beneath bone, there is rhythm. The rhythm of blood moving through vessels, the rhythm of lungs expanding and contracting, the rhythm of neurons firing in waves like stars blinking into existence. Even here, inside you, gravity plays a part. Pulls blood from head to toe, shapes your balance, gives direction to your senses. Without it, you'd be untethered even from yourself. And yet, what's most beautiful about gravity isn't that it pulls. It's that it connects. It reminds us that nothing truly exists in isolation. That every atom responds to every other. That distance is only part of the story. That even across light years, the universe is stitched together by invisible threads of care. That's what you are a part of. A web, a song, a system where everything influences everything else. Even your stillness tonight becomes part of something greater. A ripple in the great calm, a hush in the galactic hymn. So let your breath become that hush. Let your thoughts drift like stars, scattered, glowing, far but never lost. Let sleep gather you like dust before a star is born. Because tomorrow gravity will still be here. And so will you, still in motion, still held, still a part of this slow, beautiful fall into the center of everything. And as this slow fall continues, this infinite descent into presence, you begin to realize that gravity isn't just a law of physics. It's a language, a whisper passed between objects too distant to speak. A quiet tug that says, I see you, I feel you, I am here for you. Every planet circling its star is answering that pull. Every moon drifting through shadow and light is nodding in response. Even the smallest dust grains drifting through interstellar space are listening, leaning ever so gently toward some distant mass, some gravitational muse that calls them home. And this home, this Earth, floats not in emptiness, but in delicate conversation with the sun. You orbit because you are in love with balance, in love with motion, in love with that perfect in-between where speed and pull cancel each other out and become something else entirely. Harmony. You're not falling toward the sun. You're not escaping it either. You are dancing with it. The Earth, with all its storms and cities and sleeping minds, is caught in a rhythm older than fire. And you, just by breathing, are part of that rhythm. Look deeper still, and you'll see that this cosmic choreography is everywhere. In the way birds glide on thermals, wings outstretched like prayers. In the arc of ocean tides pulled lovingly by the moon. In the spiral of galaxies, where stars swirl around dark centers like leaves caught in whirlpools of time. Everything is being pulled toward everything else. Nothing escapes connection. Not truly. Even light, the fastest thing we know, can be bent by gravity's quiet will. Even time slows in its presence. That's how deep gravity runs. It touches even the ticking of the universe's clock. And maybe that's why sleep comes easier when we surrender to this pull. When we stop resisting and allow gravity to hold us, the body remembers. It is safe to rest. It is safe to be small beneath the stars. It is safe to let go. Somewhere, in the vastness above, a comet is curving slowly through the solar system. It has no engine, no wings, no map, just the memory of motion and the pull of the sun. That's all it needs. And maybe that's all you need too. Just enough gravity to guide you. Just enough silence to soften the noise. Just enough story to feel less alone. Because you are not alone. You are being pulled. Not down, but toward meaning, toward belonging, toward the gentle truth that even in the dark, even in the vastest nothing, there is connection. So as your body sinks deeper into stillness, let gravity take over. Let your thoughts spiral like stars, not chaotic but curious. Let your breath stretch across invisible distance, a silent tether between now and forever. You are floating, but you are not lost. You are exactly where you need to be. And in that soft floating, the kind that requires no wings, no effort, your body slowly begins to trust the quiet. The space between your thoughts widens, like galaxies expanding into the dark, and you realize that gravity is not something outside you, acting on you. It is within you, written into the very structure of your being. Your bones have learned its language. Your heartbeat answers to its rhythm. Even your dreams know how to fall gently into its waiting arms. High above, in the quiet black between stars, neutron stars spin with unimaginable density, their gravity strong enough to curve time itself. Black holes stretch the very fabric of reality, swallowing even light. And yet, despite their monstrous scale, they whisper the same truth that your pillow does. Come closer. Let go. Be held. It's the same gravity, the same invitation, whether it's binding atoms together in your cells or shepherding galaxies across the sky. It is always saying, stay. And staying, that might be the bravest thing we ever do. Staying present when it would be easier to drift away. Staying soft when the world feels sharp. Staying open when you've been folded in by fear. Because gravity, after all, is not just a force. It's a lesson. A teacher that speaks in silence. Teaches us that falling isn't failure. That rest isn't weakness. that being pulled toward something or someone is not to be resisted but to be honored. Imagine, just for a moment, that your breath is a moon quietly orbiting the planet of your chest. Inhale, and you rise, pulled outward by curiosity, by wonder. Exhale, and you return, drawn gently inward by love, by safety. This motion is ancient. This rhythm is sacred. It is your internal gravity. The pull that reminds you that no matter how far your thoughts travel, they can always come back. Back to your body, back to your breath, back to this quiet now. Because gravity is the opposite of loneliness. It's what binds, what brings together, what makes stars huddle in clusters and makes planets cling to the light of a single sun. And when you lie still, letting that invisible hand cradle you, you become part of that same divine geometry. Not apart from the universe, but held by it. Not small, but connected. So stay. Let your body grow heavy with trust. Let your breath slow, not because you're tired, but because you're finally home. Let the world turn without you for a little while. It will. And when you wake, you'll still be here. Still spinning in space. Still tethered to gravity. Still part of everything. And maybe that's all the reassurance you need tonight. Not an answer. Not a plan, just a presence, just gravity, just the knowledge that you are not floating through nothing, but through everything, wrapped in silence, cradled by stars, and gently, so gently falling toward rest. And so you float, unrushed, unbound, untethered, yet never alone. Above and below you, within and around you, gravity hums like an invisible song, shaping everything you see and everything you are. You drift through the cradle of the cosmos, through memories not your own and yet somehow always familiar. A ripple in a gravity wave passes through you and doesn't even ask permission. It doesn't need to, because it knows it has always been here, etched into your bones, written into the spirals of your DNA. Long before you were born, gravity sculpted the paths of comets that never touched Earth, guided gas clouds into spinning wheels of light, folded darkness around stars until they could collapse no further and became mysteries with event horizons. You may have thought gravity was a law, cold and mathematical, but you're beginning to understand now it's more like a story, a lullaby, a vow. Not the kind spoken aloud, but the kind felt in the way a mother holds her child, or how the moon can't help but follow the earth in its slow waltz around the sun. Gravity is the great gatherer. It is the unseen stitching between planets and possibility. It is the patient sculptor of time, the unseen thread between past and present, and the one who pulls us home, not with force, but with longing. And in this silence, as your breath slows and your thoughts drift like satellites falling into soft orbits, you realize that gravity has never once tried to control you. It simply offers its hand, open and unwavering, and lets you decide whether to hold on. Perhaps this is why astronauts cry when they return to Earth, not just because of the beauty of floating, but because of the weight of returning. That first step back onto the ground is not a burden. It's a reunion. The same gravity that once let them go is now welcoming them back, saying, "You were never lost. I always knew where you were." And maybe, just maybe, that's how it is with you in your life. The moments when you feel untethered, when everything feels distant and cold, those are the moments when gravity is still holding you. Quietly, gently, waiting for you to return to yourself. Even your thoughts obey this pull, circling around memories and fears like moons that never quite break free. But that's okay. Not everything needs to escape. Some things need only to orbit, close enough to feel, far enough to understand. In this way, your grief becomes a small planet, and your hope becomes its sun. Your longing becomes a comet, and your joy is the atmosphere that burns it into light. This is how you move forward, not in straight lines, but in spirals. You fall and fall and fall around your dreams, your regrets, your hopes, and in doing so, you stay in motion. You don't stop. You don't crash. You become part of the dance. Because gravity, despite what you've been told, is not a trap. It is a rhythm. It is the cosmic breath, the inhale that gathers stars into clusters and the exhale that lets them drift apart. And your body, so full of stories, answers to this rhythm without even thinking. Your lungs expand and release. Your heart contracts and opens. Your eyelids grow heavy, not with exhaustion, but with peace. And as you surrender to this quiet descent, you begin to see that nothing is truly still. Even here, even now, every atom in you is vibrating with the memory of stars. The iron in your blood remembers supernovae. The calcium in your bones recalls the shells of ancient sea creatures. The hydrogen in your breath is older than the earth itself. You are a mosaic of gravity's handiwork. You are not apart from space, you are its echo, its fingerprint, its gentle experiment in consciousness. And though you may never leave this planet, you are still an explorer. Every thought you think bends the spacetime of your mind. Every act of kindness adds mass to the gravity well of compassion. You are creating new fields of meaning simply by being here, simply by listening, simply by breathing in the dark. You don't need to build rockets to touch the stars. You only need to remember that you already carry their light. In the soft pull of your dreams, in the way your body leans toward comfort, toward truth, toward connection, this is gravity too. Pulls not only on your flesh, but on your choices. It whispers, "Come closer," when the world feels far. It hums, "Hold on," when everything else says to let go. And in that whisper is the entire history of the universe, collapsed into a single note, a single gesture, a single fall that never ends. So keep falling, not in fear, but in faith. Fall into your life. Fall into your rest. Fall into the knowing that nothing is wasted, that even drifting is a kind of motion, that even silence is full of sound. Let yourself be pulled by the moon of your own becoming. Let your tides rise and fall without apology. Let your body sink into this gravity that has never asked for praise, only presence. And know, with a stillness that goes deeper than words, that you are not floating in nothing. You are floating in everything, and everything is holding you. And in this everything, this vast velvet sea of time and pull and paradox, you are both the observer and the orbit, the question and the curve of the answer. For here in the cradle of emptiness, what the ancient ones feared and what the modern ones measured, you are starting to understand that space is not empty at all. It is thick with intention, humming with motion, steeped in old light that took billions of years just to glance across your face. Even now, photons that left dying stars before our species learned to walk are arriving in your vision, softly, silently, as if to say, you were worth the journey. Gravity doesn't just shape planets and orbits. It shapes patience, the patience of light, the patience of collapse, the patience of becoming, because in space nothing rushes. Galaxies spiral in silence for eons, black holes wait in the dark with infinite hunger and perfect stillness, and even the atoms in your fingernails are made from things that waited, and waited, and waited, for just the right moment to fuse, to burst, to fall, to be reborn. You too are a slow miracle, and now that you're floating, wrapped not in noise but in presence, you can feel the heartbeat of gravity in your chest. Not as weight, but as welcome. You were always meant to be here. Maybe not in this form, maybe not in this exact arrangement of carbon and memory, but something in the spiral of time longed for your perspective. Gravity didn't just make the stars, it made the space between them. And in that space it left room for you, not to conquer it, not to escape it, but to rest in it, to listen, to marvel. And isn't that what you're doing now? Lying back, breathing slowly, eyes tracing the thought of stars you'll never see, and still, feeling connected to them? Because that connection isn't imaginary. It's gravitational. You are connected because you exist. And existence itself, you're realizing now, is the greatest form of contact. You don't need to touch Mars to be part of its story. You are part of its story by knowing it exists, by wondering what it's like to stand beneath its twin moons, by sending your curiosity out like a gravitational wave rippling through the stillness. Even the act of wondering alters the shape of the cosmos, if only a little, and what a stunning little it is. A gravity well made of awe, a dent in the silence where your mind reached outward. And perhaps this is why the cosmos built itself the way it did, not to trap us, but to teach us how to reach, how to long for things beyond ourselves, how to orbit something we may never land on and still be changed by the closeness. The moon pulls our oceans without ever touching them. And you, too, pull others, with your words, your warmth, your gravitational smile. You may never know what tides you've caused in someone else's life just by being there, just by being steady, just by holding your ground. And that, too, is gravity. It's not always about movement. Sometimes it's about presence. Sometimes the most powerful force is the one that doesn't push or pull but simply is, unshakable, enduring, calm. The kind of gravity that lets others rest in your field without needing to fix them, change them, or even understand them. The kind that says, you can be here, exactly as you are. And in the dark, as the stars blink gently in the folds of your imagination, you remember something else. That every black hole was once a star that burned too bright. That gravity is not the enemy of light, but its final companion. That falling inward is not always a failure. Sometimes it is a return. A return to something deeper than shape, deeper than shine. A return to origin. And maybe that's what sleep is too. A kind of falling. A daily collapse into another state of being. One where the weight of waking life gives way to a more subtle pull, the gravity of the soul. The soft surrender to rest, to repair, to remembering. And so you let go of the day's momentum, of the pressure to rise, of the illusion that you must always be ascending. You let yourself orbit instead, quietly, faithfully, becoming not a rocket, but a moon devoted not to distance, but to rhythm. And isn't rhythm a kind of gravity too? The way your heart keeps time, even when you're asleep. The way your breath rises and falls like an invisible tide. The way music can move your spirit without touching your skin. These invisible forces, love, memory, meaning, are all their own gravities. And just like the ones that bend light and anchor planets, they are real. You feel them now, don't you? In the hush between thoughts. In the warmth of knowing you are part of a story far older than language. In the way your body softens, without command, as you begin to trust the stillness more than the striving. This is the truth gravity has always whispered. That falling can be sacred. That silence can be full. That motion without destination is still a form of belonging. And so you stay, floating not in nothing but in everything that matters. Everything that holds. Everything that remembers. You are not lost. You are not late. You are simply orbiting slowly, softly, surely, around the center of your becoming. And somewhere, beyond the static hum of what we call the now, beyond the silent fabric stretched across cosmic scales, the dance of gravity continues, as it always has. Not in chaos, but in choreography. The kind choreographed not by a hand, but by an unfolding, a natural rhythm that needs no conductor, only time. Picture a black hole not as a monster, but as a memory. A collapsed star that once blazed in light, now whispering in gravity. Even in its darkness, it holds others in place. Even in its silence, it speaks the language of movement. A language your atoms understand, because once, long ago, they too were forged in gravity's clasp. Drawn into stars, fused in fire, scattered in explosion, caught again in orbit, and eventually gathered in the quiet miracle that is your body. That is your breath. That is this very moment. You are gravity's echo made visible. And that means space, this endless unfolding of distance and pull, is not separate from you. It is the backdrop against which your own stillness takes shape. Just as planets spin with quiet resolve and moons remain faithful to their paths, so too does your heart orbit its quiet center. An unseen gravity that keeps you going, even when your mind forgets why. And maybe, just maybe, this is the truest kind of gravity. The kind that doesn't demand explanation. The kind that simply is. Like the pull of nostalgia. The ache of love. The way we find ourselves drawn again and again to the same constellations of thought, of memory, of hope. You don't have to understand gravity to be shaped by it. You don't have to name every force to feel it move through you. That's the quiet magic of the universe. It trusts you enough to work without your permission, without your knowledge, without your trying. You were designed to drift and to anchor, to float and to fall, to lose and to return. All of it in rhythm, in time, in orbit. And now, As your body lies still but your imagination moves freely through these constellations of thought, you realize something beautiful. Weightlessness isn't absence, it's presence. A full-body surrender to the pull of what simply is. It's the way astronauts describe space, not as a void, but as a revelation. Not as nothing, but as everything stretched thin and glowing. And you, here, breathing, feeling, wondering, you are also glowing. Perhaps not with heat or light, but with meaning, with the faint but persistent pulse of awareness. And that, too, is a gravity, one that holds you even when no one else can see it. Even when you forget it yourself, you are being held always, by the earth beneath your resting bones, by the curve of time itself, by the kindnesses you forgot you gave. And as you float now, not in absence but in story, in science, in stillness, you see how gravity isn't the villain we once imagined. It isn't what drags us down. It's what brings us home. It's the arms we fall into when flight becomes too loud. It's the ground we trust to catch us, again and again. And yes, it's the secret pull that ties every wandering star back into the grand spiral of becoming. No motion is wasted. No drifting is without purpose. Even now, in sleep, your cells repair. Your thoughts settle. Your center finds itself again. This is gravity's lullaby. A song not sung in sound, but in surrender. In returning. In becoming part of something wider than your skin, deeper than your thoughts, older than your fear. And isn't that the gift of all this? To remember that you are not floating alone? That you are never truly untethered? That even the loneliest parts of space still sing in frequencies we've only just begun to hear? You are part of that song. Your breath adds to the harmony. Your resting body is a note in the cosmic hum. Nothingness has never truly existed, not in space, not in you. What looks like emptiness is simply fullness wearing a thinner veil. And now, as your eyelids grow heavier and your body yields to sleep's gentle orbit, let that be your last thought. You are not weightless because you are lost. You are weightless because you are home, held not by gravity alone, but by everything that's ever loved you into being. Drift on, traveler. The stars will keep their vigil. The earth will hold its spin. The story will wait for you. And as you drift further into this boundless hush, gravity begins to soften, not in strength, but in presence. It doesn't tug anymore, it whispers. It doesn't hold you down, it invites you in. The same force that guided moons into orbit and drew planets into formation now lets you simply rest, as if it knows you've carried enough today. Enough thoughts, enough weight, enough wondering. The universe, in all its vastness, has space for your stillness. And that stillness, like the dark between stars, is not a void. It is fertile. It is the space where new galaxies will be born. Maybe not of gas or dust or hydrogen, but of realization, of quiet clarity. You begin to understand, without needing to define it, that gravity isn't just about objects. It's about connection. The invisible threads that link you to everything else without noise, without permission. It is the feeling of being pulled toward someone you love without knowing why. It is the way memory clings to scent. The way sadness anchors you after loss. The way joy floats you higher, yet never lets you drift too far. We often think of gravity as downward, as limiting, but what if it's actually grounding in the best sense? What if it's what gives your dreams a landing place? What if it's what keeps your hope from floating too far beyond reach? Somewhere, in the cradle of the cosmos, a single neutron star spins, its density unimaginable, its mass collapsing time around it. You'll never see it with your eyes, but its pull, however faint, reaches you. Because in this universe, everything touches everything else. A thought you have tonight could echo in a stranger's smile tomorrow. A kindness you extend might ripple across generations. And yes, even your rest, the quiet surrender of your breath tonight, has weight. It contributes to the balance of all things. It is part of the gravity that holds us together. So let yourself float, not away, but inward. Into that deep gravity that holds you without needing you to hold it back. Into that hum of the universe that vibrates, ever so softly, with the rhythm of your own existence. You are not alone in the dark. You are not spinning without purpose. You are part of the choreography, and your presence completes the pattern. There is nothing more to understand right now. Nothing more to do. Just feel it. The slow turning of the earth beneath you, the ancient hum of space above you, the gentle tug at the center of your being saying, "Stay here. Just for now. Just breathe." Let the story continue without urgency. Let gravity do the remembering. You are allowed to forget. You are allowed to float. And when the morning returns, as it always does, you will carry the stillness with you, like a secret, a softness in your step, a quiet resilience in your chest. Not because you figured everything out, but because you didn't need to, because gravity, like love, doesn't need to be solved. It only needs to be trusted. And so we continue, not forward or upward, but inward, into the invisible currents that hold everything in place, into the hush between seconds where meaning settles like dust on a sunbeam. Out here, where stars burn in silence and nebulae bloom like ghostly gardens, the idea of falling shifts from fear to freedom, because floating is not the absence of gravity, it's the perfect balance of it. Just enough pull to keep you tethered to the story, but not so much that it drowns your curiosity. Here, among drifting atoms and eternal echoes, we begin to see that gravity isn't merely a force, it's a memory of where things belong, of how stardust once coalesced into planets, of how hearts once reached toward each other across the canyon of longing. Gravity remembers everything. It remembers the shape of you in your mother's arms. It remembers the way oceans kiss the shore without ever truly leaving. It remembers how you laughed harder when you felt safe, how you stood taller when someone believed in you. It's not pulling you down, it's pulling you home. And isn't it beautiful, this idea that something invisible holds the whole universe in a soft embrace? That galaxies drift not in chaos, but in choreography? We orbit, we spin, we spiral, not out of control, but into meaning. Even black holes, those mysterious pits of collapse, are not devourers, but reminders. They tell us that even light can be held, that even brilliance has a boundary, that every story has a center so strong it cannot be ignored. And perhaps your heart, that steady rhythm keeper inside you, is your black hole, not in sadness, but in certainty. The center around which your entire being orbits, the gravity of your own becoming. Imagine now that you're not just lying in your bed, listening to a distant voice, you are floating in the cradle of space. No up, no down. Just the gentle hum of stars whispering old secrets. The earth spins silently beneath you, a marble of memory and moss and movement. You are not separate from it. You are its echo. Every atom in your body was forged in the heart of a star. Every breath you take is a collaboration between gravity and life. Even your silence now, your stillness, is a kind of participation. You are listening. You are receiving. And maybe that's all the universe ever wanted from you. Not answers, not perfection, just presence. Even here, as we hover in the dark velvet of space, where stars shimmer like thoughts not yet spoken, the weightless silence around us is not emptiness but invitation. An invitation to feel what gravity truly is. Not merely the force that tethers planets and pulls apples from trees, but the story beneath every motion, the glue between every moment, the silent thread stitching past to present to possible. It is the reason your feet stay on the ground while your dreams reach beyond the sky. It is why rivers flow toward oceans, and why hearts lean toward other hearts, even after distance, even after time. For gravity is not always physical. Sometimes, it's emotional, ancestral, unseen but deeply felt. It pulls at your memories, your yearnings, your truths that refuse to float away. And as the earth quietly hums beneath layers of air and atmosphere, spinning its gentle pirouette around the sun, it is gravity that holds the stage lights steady. It is gravity that teaches the moon to dance, the tides to rise and fall like breath, the trees to root, and the human soul to return again and again to what it cannot name but always feels. Think of how children sleep best with weight, a blanket, an embrace, a sense of grounding. Think of how you've longed, in your worst moments, not to be lifted away, but held close. Gravity, in this way, is love's twin, constant, centering, quietly relentless. Even astronauts, when flung into orbit, floating like feathers in an endless sky, speak of a longing not for more space, but for touch, the pressure of floor beneath feet, the resistance of air, the warmth of gravity's memory. Floating may look like freedom, but it reminds you of what matters most. Connection, belonging, the gentle weight of presence. And just like in space, where gravity still exists but feels different, spread thinner, more fragile, our own lives sometimes stretch us into places where grounding becomes faint, where we feel adrift in our own minds, our own days. But even then, gravity never leaves. Even then, someone always calls us back. And here we are, drifting together now. You listening in your quiet corner of the world. Me, a voice tracing the curve of time with words. And between us, gravity. The gravity of shared thought, of curiosity, of stillness. Even now, as the galaxies move farther and farther apart, expanding into the vast unknown, gravity reaches. It builds bridges we cannot see. It crafts architecture too slow for clocks but too certain for doubt. It makes sure the stars don't forget each other, that planets don't lose their sun, that stories don't dissolve into static. And it makes sure, most gently of all, that your body always knows where it belongs, that your atoms remember home. And so, we fall through space not downward but inward into the realization that gravity has never been just about mass and motion. It's always been about memory. The memory of where you belong, of what once held you, and of everything you've ever reached for but couldn't explain why. Even the planets remember. Every orbit is a kind of longing, every rotation a soft returning. Earth doesn't just circle the sun out of physics. It circles like a pilgrim, reverent and rhythmic, marking the seasons not just for survival but for meaning. And you, yes, you carry that same orbit in your days. You wake, you rise, you work, you sleep, and in that cycle gravity holds your breath steady, calls your feet back to the floor each morning. It ensures that your cup of tea won't float away in sorrow, that your books won't scatter in loss, that your body, with all its stories and scars, will stay with you. And when grief comes, as it always does, it arrives with weight. A literal gravity pressing into your chest. We say we feel heavy with emotion, and we do because feelings have mass when they're remembered by the heart. Joy, too, has its own gravity, the way laughter makes us collapse into each other, the way love anchors us even when everything else spins out of control. And in space, this sacred dance continues. Stars are born in the embrace of gravity, in the collapse of dust, chaos, silence. A million particles drift for millennia, purposeless, until gravity whispers them together, presses them into light. That's the miracle, isn't it? That something so heavy can create something so luminous. That collapse is the beginning of ignition. That even the falling apart has purpose. Maybe you felt that, too, like you were unraveling, only to find later that the breaking was the birthing. That the weight you thought would crush you was simply shaping you into flame. Even black holes, the heaviest things we know, don't end the story. They bend it, warp it, preserve it in the most intense gravity known, so tightly that not even light escapes. Not as an end, but as a mystery still waiting to be read. So if you feel like you're floating, like you're spinning out into some great void, remember this: you are not lost. You are orbiting. You are falling, but always towards something, not away. The curve may be long. The arc may feel endless, but gravity never forgets. It waits, patient, soft, the way arms wait for someone who's been gone too long. You are still held. By your planet, by your breath, by the weight of all the small things you thought didn't matter. The hand on your back, the cup you always reach for, the voice that grounds you in silence. And as we keep falling gently, not through space, but through understanding, we begin to notice the strange paradox of weightlessness, that it isn't the absence of gravity, but the perfect embrace of it. When astronauts float in orbit, they're not free from gravity's pull. They are suspended in an eternal fall, always missing the Earth by inches, always pulled but never crashing. It's the most elegant surrender. Their floating is a kind of trust, a choreography with the invisible. And maybe that's what we do too, every day without knowing it. We trust gravity to hold us, even as we chase dreams that lift us. We walk, leap, dance, and fall in love, all because gravity makes movement meaningful. It gives context to flight. It gives falling its poetry. You can't soar unless you know what it feels like to be held. And the universe? It continues its expansion, not like a balloon with a finish line, but like a breath that never ends. Gravity is the quiet exhale between stars. The great galaxies drifting farther and farther apart aren't breaking up. They're just making space for more stories, more sky. In the void between them, gravity is still at work. A thread stretching across the silence, unbreakable. And even now, as you sit or lie wherever you are, the gravity of your body is reaching out, toward the floor, the bed, the Earth's core. And that pull connects you to every falling apple, every ancient comet, every quiet footprint on the moon. The same force that stitched Saturn's rings together is gently holding your bones to your mattress. And the dust of stars that once collapsed into galaxies also collapsed into you. You are not beside the universe. You are within it. You are its rhythm, its proof, its pause between pulses. Imagine now, drifting weightless. Not alone, but in harmony with the planets, the moons, the dust trails of forgotten worlds. Picture yourself orbiting something unseen, something sacred, feeling both tethered and free. Gravity does not confine you, it cradles you. It reminds you that even when everything seems to be falling, it might just be falling into place. Because floating doesn't mean lost. It means balanced. It means that the pull on your soul is matched by the motion of your heart. That every time you think you're slipping away, you're actually in sync with something ancient. Something soft. Something kind. Quietly adrift, yet never alone, bound by the invisible threads of gravity that loop us into everything. Into the motion of planets, into the rhythm of tides, into the falling of rain and the swelling of hearts. Gravity doesn't ask to be seen, only felt. And its feeling is always a whisper, never a command. A leaf drifting toward Earth. A moon keeping its distance but never straying. A lullaby written in curves and arcs instead of notes. Even the act of breathing is a soft negotiation with gravity. Your lungs rise in defiance, then surrender and release, again and again, like waves meeting the shore and slipping away. We spend our whole lives in conversation with this unseen companion, pressing against it as we run, surrendering to it as we sleep. And when we love deeply, hold tightly, or let go finally, gravity is always there, catching the moment, recording its weight in silence. There is an elegance to how gravity shapes time, too. Not just clocks and seconds, but experience. Near something heavy, a planet, a star, a black hole, time slows. Not as punishment, but as invitation. An invitation to linger, to witness, to feel the stretch of a second in your chest as if it were eternity. And if gravity can bend time, then maybe the heaviest moments of your life, the ones that seem to last forever, really did. Maybe your heartbreaks and hopes left small imprints in spacetime. Delicate curves where you once stood still and felt everything. And that means you are not just passing through this universe. You are shaping it. Every choice you make is a ripple. Every thought, a wave. Every connection, a gravity all its own. Black holes, for instance, are not just places of endings. They're places of preservation. Memory vaults made of collapsed stars. We imagine them as monsters, devouring light. But maybe they're more like sacred archives, gathering the most intense stories and holding them tightly so nothing is lost. And isn't that what we do, too? We collapse around the things we love. We carry them. We protect them from drifting too far. We become heavy with meaning, and in that weight, there is beauty. And then, there's you, floating through your own vastness, carrying galaxies of thought, constellations of feeling. You don't need to understand gravity to be part of it. You are already held, already moving in the curve of its care. Let that be enough. Let yourself drift, not away, but within. Within the arms of something ancient. Something that doesn't ask you to be strong, only to be still. Only to feel the pull and know it is love in its most universal form. If you're still awake, perhaps that means something in this story needed space in your orbit. A reminder that your smallness is not insignificance, but intimacy with something infinite. You are not just in the universe. You are of it. A breathing planet, a soft satellite, a star not yet burning, and gravity, the most quiet of companions, is there, waiting to pull you toward whatever is next. Toward peace, toward purpose, or maybe just toward sleep. To drift through the great stillness. It becomes clear that gravity isn't just the invisible net that catches moons and holds oceans in place. It's the quiet architect of all connection. It tethers not just mass to mass, but meaning to moment. In the most silent corners of the cosmos, where starlight has not yet reached, gravity still hums. It does not shine, but it shapes the shine. It sculpts galaxies out of dust, weaves stars from hydrogen, balances planets on invisible strings, and pulls chaos into harmony. It is the great choreographer of the cosmic waltz, unseen but deeply felt, orchestrating movement with nothing but presence. And if you close your eyes and let yourself float in that understanding, you begin to see how even your life is wrapped in gravity's design. The people you're drawn to, the memories you orbit, the moments that pull you back no matter how far you drift. All of them are echoes of this same ancient pull. Astronauts say that in space you don't feel weightless, you feel held. Not by nothing, but by everything. Suspended in a balance so perfect it makes you weep. And isn't that what we all seek? Not freedom from gravity, but a gentler form of it. A kind that allows us to rise while still being held. Maybe love is a kind of gravity, too. Not the kind that cages, but the kind that cradles. That doesn't pull you down, but pulls you toward each other, toward meaning, toward belonging. You are not floating alone. You are part of this great, shared falling toward. All of us, together, are falling through space. Not into emptiness, but into story, into becoming. And as you lie here now, breathing slow and steady, you are not separate from that story. You are a chapter, a verse, a quiet line in the poem of existence. Your heartbeat is its own kind of orbit. Your thoughts drift like comets. Your dreams echo like distant supernovae, lighting up the quiet dark of your mind. You don't need to be an astronaut to feel this. You just need to be still, to let go, to fall softly into the pull of wonder. Because wonder is gravity, too. Keeps us grounded in beauty, anchored in awe. It reminds us that we don't need to understand everything to be part of it. Sometimes it is enough just to feel the tug, to feel moved. So, float here with me a little longer. Let your thoughts stretch like nebulae. Let your worries dissolve like heat into the vacuum. The universe is in no rush. Time bends here, slows here, wraps around your shoulders like a soft, cosmic blanket. You are safe. You are suspended. You are enough. Let the spiral continue. Let gravity hold what you no longer need to carry. Let the silence speak. And when you're ready, we'll drift a little deeper still, into the heart of what holds everything together. And as we slip further into this weightless hush, imagine a single particle, long before planets, long before stars, drifting through a young and silent universe. Alone but not forgotten, meaningless to itself, but sacred to what would one day become everything. That particle did not know it carried possibility. That when it danced ever so slightly toward another, pulled not by will, but by the soft whisper of gravity, the first bond was formed. And from that bond came more. Attraction, clustering, collapse. Not destruction, but creation through surrender. The quiet truth of the cosmos is that every star began by falling in. Every planet began by yielding. Every galaxy formed not through explosion, but through embrace. The gravity that pulls you downward is the same force that lifted mountains from oceans. It is the same grace that caught 1,000 suns and spun them into constellations. There is poetry in that fall. Not an end, but an opening. Not chaos, but choreography. You may feel like you're drifting right now, in your life, in your thoughts, in your breath, but perhaps this drifting is a prelude to shape. Perhaps you are orbiting into the next version of yourself. And maybe this falling feeling you fear is not failure, but formation. Because gravity never punishes, it sculpts. Gently, relentlessly, with patience deeper than time. It is the silence that becomes shape. the invisible line that leads wandering things home. And when you lie in bed, staring at the ceiling as if it were the night sky, wondering what holds you together when you feel like breaking apart, know this: you are being held. Even when you cannot see the arms. Even when you do not know the center. Even when all you feel is the pull. That pull is not a sign of loss. It is the universe reminding you, you belong. You belong to this gravity. You belong to this mystery. You belong to this drifting, spiraling, breathing world. You do not need to resist it. You do not need to understand it. You just need to let it carry you. Like a leaf caught in a gentle eddy. Like a moon resting in its orbit. Like a thought traveling between stars. You are not falling. You are arriving slowly, softly, exactly when and where you need to. And in that stillness, in that floating, in that dream state that is neither here nor there, you will remember that you are part of something ancient, something kind, something vast and quiet and filled with grace. And as your eyes grow heavy and your breathing deepens, let go into that grace. Let the gravity of rest pull you closer to peace. Let the silence sing its lullaby. The stars are not watching. They are welcoming. You are not alone. You are not broken. You are floating in purpose, in story, in a gravity older than time and softer than sleep. And as we slip further into this weightless hush, imagine a single particle, long before planets, long before stars, drifting through a young and silent universe. Alone but not forgotten, meaningless to itself, but sacred to what would one day become everything. That particle did not know it carried possibility. That when it danced ever so slightly toward another, pulled not by will, but by the soft whisper of gravity, the first bond was formed. And from that bond came more. Attraction, clustering, collapse. Not destruction, but creation through surrender. The quiet truth of the cosmos is that every star began by falling in. Every planet began by yielding. Every galaxy formed not through explosion, but through embrace. The gravity that pulls you downward is the same force that lifted mountains from oceans. It is the same grace that caught 1,000 suns and spun them into constellations. There is poetry in that fall. Not an end, but an opening. Not chaos, but choreography. You may feel like you're drifting right now, in your life, in your thoughts, in your breath, but perhaps this drifting is a prelude to shape. Perhaps you are orbiting into the next version of yourself. And maybe this falling feeling you fear is not failure, but formation. Because gravity never punishes, it sculpts. Gently, relentlessly, with patience deeper than time. It is the silence that becomes the shape. The invisible line that leads wandering things home. And when you lie in bed, staring at the ceiling as if it were the night sky, wondering what holds you together when you feel like breaking apart, know this: you are being held. Even when you cannot see the arms. Even when you do not know the center. Even when all you feel is the pull. That pull is not a sign of loss. It is the universe reminding you, you belong. You belong to this gravity. You belong to this mystery. You belong to this drifting, spiraling, breathing world. You do not need to resist it. You do not need to understand it. You just need to let it carry you. Like a leaf caught in a gentle eddy. Like a moon resting in its orbit. Like a thought traveling between stars. You are not falling. You are arriving slowly, softly, exactly when and where you need to. And in that stillness, in that floating, in that dream state that is neither here nor there, you will remember that you are part of something ancient, something kind, something vast and quiet and filled with grace. And as your eyes grow heavy and your breathing deepens, let go into that grace. Let the gravity of rest pull you closer to peace. Let the silence sing its lullaby. The stars are not watching. They are welcoming. You are not alone. You are not broken. You are floating in purpose, in story, in a gravity older than time and softer than sleep. And so we continue, spiraling softly into the deeper folds of nothingness, where space itself becomes a canvas for the quiet choreography of gravity. Not a force that shouts, not a hand that grasps, but a presence, eternal and invisible, that simply waits and tugs and shapes without ever raising its voice. Think of the orbits that have lasted billions of years, planets circling stars with such unerring devotion, like dancers who never tire. This is gravity's patience. Not to drag or dominate, but to invite and sustain. And while we imagine it as something cold or mechanical, gravity is, in its own way, profoundly gentle. It lets stars burn bright but keeps them grounded in motion. It lets galaxies fling their arms wide, but never so wide that they forget their center. Even black holes, terrifying as they seem, are not destroyers. They are holders of memory, of mass, of time itself. They are libraries of fallen light. And in their stillness, in their hunger, they teach us that not all endings are empty. Some are simply thresholds to another kind of being. Float a little farther now, beyond stars you cannot name, past nebulae that glow like the breath of sleeping giants. Out here, gravity still speaks, but in whispers so faint they can only be heard by the silence inside you. You are adrift, yes, but you are not lost. You are falling inward and outward at once, into a universe that holds no edge, no top, no bottom, just endless invitation. Up becomes out, down becomes through, and in that suspension you start to feel something shift. Not your position, but your perception. The illusion of control melts, and you find solace not in steering, but in surrendering. It's strange, isn't it, that the most grounding force in the universe is the one you feel least when floating freely. But maybe that's the point. Maybe gravity isn't about pulling you down. Maybe it's about holding you close, even when you drift far. And so we drift onward, deeper still into the silent symphony of space, where gravity composes galaxies not with noise, but with nuance, a quiet threading of light through time, a tender curve of motion stitched into the black. Picture it now. A single atom adrift in this endless stretch of void, vibrating not with urgency, but with the memory of stars yet to be born. Around it, nothing, and yet within it, everything, because gravity does not rush. It waits, it gathers, it coaxes chaos into constellations and sculpts stillness into spiral arms. It is both the artist and the frame, the rhythm and the rest. And you, tiny, luminous you, are part of this art. You carry its pattern in the way your chest rises and falls as you breathe, in the way your thoughts orbit your hopes, your fears, your quiet longing for connection. Gravity isn't just what pulls the ocean to the shore. It's what pulls one heart toward another. It's the invisible tether between a lullaby and the child falling asleep to it, between your voice and the person who needed to hear it, between a dream and the dreamer who dares to believe. Even here, in the middle of space, where sound cannot travel and time seems to drift like vapor, gravity remains. Soft, steady, and loyal. It's in the way satellites circle Earth without falling, in the way astronauts float not in defiance of gravity, but because they are always falling, just gracefully, perpetually missing the ground. That's what orbit is. Not flight, not freedom, but a dance with gravity's embrace. And maybe that's what we all are. Not grounded, not flying, just suspended beautifully, briefly, in a moment between forces, between what we were and what we are becoming. And as you close your eyes tonight, surrounded by the hush of stars and the hum of a billion galaxies swirling quietly around you, remember this. The same force that held the first star still holds you. The same laws that bound the moon to the earth also bind your memories to your body, your emotions to your breath. You are not separate from this cosmos. You are not a spectator. You are part of the choreography, one note in the great lullaby of existence. And deeper we go, not just into space, but into the poetry it whispers when no one is looking, when all the rockets are silent and the satellites are still. There is a gravity even in dreams, a pull not down, but inward into memory, into metaphor, into the shared quiet we forget we all carry. Imagine floating beyond the last star you know, past even the dark matter scaffolding that cradles galaxies like spider silk across eternity, into a realm where gravity still guides, but not just mass to mass, not just dust to sun, but soul to soul, echo to echo. Out here, you begin to understand that falling is not failure, that descent is not defeat, because gravity does not punish, connects. It knits the universe together in the absence of forceful hands. using only the softest persuasion. A whisper, a pull, a presence. It does not demand to be noticed. It only asks to be trusted. And it rewards that trust with the beauty of planets that do not drift apart, of tides that return, of bodies that know how to stay close even across lifetimes. Think now of your own gravity. Not your weight, not your body, but your presence, the field you create just by existing. The way your thoughts shape the people around you. The way your kindness changes a room. The way your sadness can darken a sky or your laughter can light it again. You too exert a pull. Invisible but real. Constant but gentle. You are not just affected by gravity. You are a source of it. And when you dream, when you speak, when you reach across time or memory to touch another soul, that gravity hums a little louder. Even in stillness, especially in stillness, gravity does not rush. It does not scream. Simply waits, holds, enfolds. It is the reason stars remain in families. It is the reason galaxies do not spin apart. And it is the reason we find our way back to each other, again and again, across centuries, across heartbreaks, across the quiet chasms that life so often carves. So tonight, as you float into the soft pull of sleep, know that gravity is not what keeps you down. It is what keeps you close, close to the earth, close to wonder, close to the stories we share in the dark when the world feels too wide. You are not drifting alone. You are dancing in orbit with stars, with history, with the future. And you are held, always held. And so the orbit continues, not just of planets, not just of moons around worlds, but of our own inner movements, the silent revolutions we make in thought, in memory, in feeling. Out here, in the vast theater of space where gravity performs without applause, there's no stage and no spotlight. Only the quiet assurance that everything is still moving, still becoming, still returning to center. Imagine a comet, long forgotten, making its 1,000-year loop around the sun. No one sees it, no one charts its path. But still it follows its arc, pulled gently, faithfully, by a force it will never understand, but always obeys. Aren't we all a little like that? Carrying ancient desires, silent purposes, orbiting something warmer than ourselves, hoping, without proof, that we're still on the right path. Gravity has no beginning, no end. It doesn't fade. It doesn't fail. It simply persists. The universe could cool. Stars could go dark, but gravity would remain, holding the bones of galaxies like fossils in the void. And in that persistence, there's comfort, because you too, in your own quiet way, are a persistence. You remain, through storms, through change, through long nights of confusion and vast stretches of silence. You stay, you breathe, you hold space, just like gravity. You may not pull stars into being, but you pull people into calm. You may not shape galaxies, but you shape hearts. You bend light, not with mass, but with kindness. And that too is gravity. Float now into the regions where gravity feels like memory. Picture the Earth as it was long before us, a molten swirl of rock and heat, and even then gravity was there, not fully formed, not fully known, but present, ready to take shape, to hold seas in their basins, to cradle mountains as they rose. Without gravity, nothing would settle. Without you, perhaps nothing would feel settled. Think of how many people anchor to your presence. How many moments have orbited you without your knowing. You're not just watching gravity from afar. You are participating in its grace. And as you settle in, body becoming weightless in the soft hush of rest, you begin to understand. Gravity is not heavy. It is grounding. It's the hum beneath everything. The reason stardust became stars, and why stars became places. It's what lets the moon know where to rise, and why tides remember to return. And maybe it's what lets you return to yourself, to peace, to the quiet center that waits beneath the noise of your days. Close your eyes. Let the weight you feel be sacred. Let it be a reminder, not of burden, but of belonging. You are meant to be here. You are meant to be held. You are meant to be in motion and still at once. That is the paradox of gravity. That is the poetry of you. Let's fall further inward now. Not in fear, but in fascination, into the realms where gravity doesn't just hold you, it warps what you thought you knew. Picture a black hole, not as a monster but as a mystery, a place where the rules that governed your entire life gently dissolve. Time slows near it, stretches, elongates like warm taffy under sunlight, and if you dared to cross its edge, the event horizon, your story would split. Outside, you'd appear frozen, forever lingering. Inside, you'd continue, unaware of the point where separation happened. What a haunting, elegant metaphor for memory, for grief, for love lost. That even as parts of us move forward, other pieces stay suspended in time, visible only from the outside. From a distance, held, unmoving, eternal. In this, gravity becomes less of a physical force and more of an emotional one. The black holes we carry, the absences, the people we miss, the times we wish we could revisit, pull at us in invisible ways. They bend our present. They ripple our choices. And yet, they are not monsters either. They are chapters, gateways, the proof that something once burned so brightly, it left an imprint so deep that even light could not escape. And if you've loved like that, lost like that, then you too have felt the slow drift near a gravitational edge. But you are still here, still orbiting, still rising. Let us now think not of falling into gravity, but floating within it. Astronauts aboard the International Space Station do not escape gravity. They're dancing with it. They're constantly falling, just sideways fast enough to keep missing the Earth. Isn't that a beautiful truth? That weightlessness is just a perfect kind of falling, a surrender with direction, a trust that the curve beneath you will always be there. This too is how we grow, not by escaping the pull of life, but by learning how to move with it, how to surrender into the fall, how to trust the arc. And just as gravity sculpts stars from clouds of gas and dust, it sculpts us, from chaos, from softness, from beginnings that didn't make sense at the time. It takes our spinning, uncertain matter and gives it shape, center, meaning. So now, as your breath slows, and the constellations begin to hum just outside your window, remember this. You are not drifting alone. You are in orbit, with every thought, every beat of your heart, every cell quietly regenerating. You are part of the pattern, the rhythm, the grand, celestial breath that has moved since the first atom dared to bond with another. And when you close your eyes tonight, feel the earth beneath you not as a rock, but as a cradle, spinning gently, held invisibly, singing a lullaby only the soul can hear, the lullaby of gravity, the song that says, you belong here, you are tethered, not trapped, you are held, not hindered. Let us float now beyond the curve of familiar orbits and into the quiet architecture of the void, where galaxies drift like forgotten thoughts and gravity becomes more than just force. It becomes memory. Out here, in the deeper reaches of space, you are not just watching stars. You are watching echoes. Light that left its home millions, even billions, of years ago, traveling through the emptiness just to find you tonight. Every shimmer in the sky is a message delayed, a cosmic postcard sent before your birth, arriving now like a whisper. Some of the stars you see no longer exist in the form they once held. They have died, collapsed, transformed, but their light, oh, their light is still on its way. Isn't that a kind of hope? That even after an ending, something beautiful keeps moving forward. Something still reaches out, still glows. And perhaps that's what gravity really teaches us, not just about mass or pull, but about legacy. About how even the things we can't see anymore can still affect us, still move us, still shape the way we spin. In the grand theater of the cosmos, galaxies collide not with violence, but with grace. They merge, dance, fold into one another over millions of years. Their stars don't crash. They swirl into new formations. Entire new patterns emerge. New centers form. This too is life. The long, slow dance of becoming, of allowing what was once separate to find harmony in the union. Sometimes destruction is just the beginning of reorganization. Sometimes chaos is the blueprint for beauty. And gravity is the invisible choreographer that ensures we don't spin forever alone.